little known fact about Chuck Norris. He was once speeding down the interstate, going around 97 miles an hour in a 55 miles an hour zone. He was pulled over, and he mercifully let the cops off with a warning. Hi, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Today we're going to take a look at this new Vinegar Syndrome 4K release of Invasion U.S.A, starring Chuck Norris, which, by the way, I recently found out he has a bearskin rug in his house. The bear is still alive. He's just too scared to move. Now, Vinegar Syndrome also recently released another Chuck Norris movie, Sidekicks. Now, this is a Vinegar Syndrome Ultra. I don't have all the cool case and everything for it, but I do have this part of it. But this, let's take a look at this new packaging. So on the cover, we have Chuck Norris, a very, very large close-up of Chuck Norris, and we have another Chuck Norris right here. I mean, you can't have too many Chuck Norrises on the cover of your movie. Now, there's hardly any room for anything but Chuck Norris on this cover, but there are a few things hidden. Like, for instance, the antagonist, Richard Lynch, you see him very small up here in the corner, as well as a tank and a picture of a Capitol building. On the back side of it, unfortunately, we do not have any additional Chuck Norris, but we do have a tank, a city skyline, and helicopters and all that, making it look like this is going to be some kind of like a whole bunch of tanks and helicopters, which there are some in there, but they don't really show up until near the end. Before that, it's mostly just Chuck Norris fighting the bad guys. So you take this off, and then here inside we have the same cover on the inside, but is there a reverse? Yes, there is the reverse. This is the original theatrical poster we have, and this is a scene in the movie where Chuck Norris has two Uzis. So got a machine gun in each hand. A bad guy's on the ground. He waits for the bad guy to reach for his gun, and then he shoots him with two Uzis and kills him pretty efficiently at that point. On the inside of this, we have a booklet with lots of information and pictures about the movie, and here we have a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc of the movie. Now, I watched both of these, the Blu-ray and I watched the 4K, and then I kind of went through the Blu-ray to see if there was a big difference in quality. Now, the Blu-ray is taken from the same transfer as the 4K version. Now, I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong. It is a newly scanned and restored from its 35mm original camera negative. So that's a pretty impressive transfer, but it is not a restoration. But both, when I was spot checking the Blu-ray and the 4K, I saw very little difference. There may have been a little less sharpness or clarity in the Blu-ray. But in general, this movie looks pretty good, but there is, like I said, there isn't a restoration to it. So there is a lot more grain than what you might be used to in a 4K release. There wasn't any real new work done to it. There are some imperfections. I did notice a few errors. I did notice some few things that really need to be cleaned up in some shots. It's very rare, but every case, I know they're in the mall scene when they're walking out. I saw something really odd flicker thing happen that probably needed to be cleaned up. But it doesn't kill it for me. I still find this movie to be immensely entertaining. And now, for those who may think Invasion U.S.A. might be about Chuck Norris going against some like extraterrestrial beings, which would be fairly amazing, but this is not that. He is going against communists who have infiltrated America. They have come in on Florida shore, and they have landed there. Now, Chuck Norris, at the beginning of the movie, when someone comes to visit him from the government and they're trying to pull him back in, he used to be an operative, but he has retired, and he is hanging out in the Florida Everglades, that kind of a house shack thing. But someone tries to pull him back in. He doesn't want to do it. So he may have sat this one out, maybe, but the main terrorist, or the main communist terrorist who's coming to attack America, he's had interactions with Chuck Norris's character before, and as a matter of fact, this guy has nightmares about Chuck Norris coming and trying to kill him. he says things like, "It's time to die." Or Chuck Norris says this to him in his dreams. And then he wakes up sweating and he's like, "We got to kill Chuck Norris." His character's name, but they got to kill him. So then his partner is like, we're just going to go and like invade America and like do all this destruction. He's like, "We got to kill Chuck Norris first or it's not going to work." So they go to the bayou. They go to the bayou and they all get a bunch of airboats and they go over there. They blow up his house. And by the way, Chuck Norris has a pet armadillo in this one that he feeds. And luckily, they blow up his house. Chuck Norris jumps out the window before this happens, and the armadillo, like, luckily survives as well. That would have been fairly traumatic to see that armadillo go. But they leave thinking they've killed Chuck Norris's character, but he's not dead. And they've actually kind of really made him mad now. He is like ready to join the fight. He is ready to stop these commie bastards. And he's and luckily for the United States of America, Chuck Norris comes to the rescue. It doesn't seem like until further into the movie that there's a lot of activity going on with the army or the police. But these communists they're actually dressing themselves up as police and as army people. So they come in and they trick people because they look like the police or army men, and then they just shoot them and kill them. That's kind of their thing. The first thing they do, the communists, when they get all their bunch of their men on land, they go into a neighborhood, and with all of a sudden, I didn't realize this before, but apparently this movie takes place at Christmas time. It's only shown a few times. It's shown when they go to this neighborhood, and later on they go to the mall, and it's like Christmas to the walls. I guess in Florida, Christmas doesn't really read too well. You don't see a lot of Christmassy stuff, except for in this neighborhood. Just they go to this neighborhood that everyone happens to be decorated for Christmas there, and they blow up the houses. Now, at first you think this movie might be, this movie might be a little savage. You got a little girl out there decorating the tree. Her family goes inside, and then she goes inside too, and they blow up her house. And then you're like, wow, they just killed that little girl. That was crazy. But then she comes out of the house, and she apparently survived it for some reason. But her family died, so I guess it is still kind of brutal, but it takes the edge off of it because the little girl got to live. Now, my question is, for these communists, why do they start so small? It's the terrorists. They start with this neighborhood, just blow up some houses, and then later on they start trying to. By the time Chuck Norris is involved, they got his attention. They start trying to go to the bigger things. They try to blow up a church and the mall, but they can't. They're not successful at either one of these because by that time they've alerted Chuck Norris, and he's there to beat their asses pretty much. Now this mall sequence, it is fairly impressive. It's very similar, not similar, but as far as the Blues Brothers mall chase with the cars, it's kind of like that. I mean, it's fairly impressive. They tear that mall up pretty good, and then followed by an outside chase on the car with the cars, and it's a fairly impressive and very very fun sequence. So this movie came out in 1985. The year before, 1984, Red Dawn came out, and now there was a lot of fear about Russia invading the U.S. at the time, and now a few years ago it seemed ridiculous, but now I could kind of see it with everything going on with Russia bringing their battleships to Cuba, which is pretty close to the U.S. So it doesn't seem outside of the realm of possibilities at this point. Now the character Chuck Norris plays in this movie is very he almost seems to, I don't know if he's really enjoying killing these bad guys, but he is doing it in a very meticulous fashion. And so and oftentimes he has a really no expression look on his face. He's got the two machine guns. He corners somebody, boom, boom, boom. And so, he is playing it more serious, but it is a fun movie. I think that it's interesting looking at what his character has to do. So he's going after all of these bad guys, and he goes and stops their operations. He'll go and find somebody who knows something about it and interrogate them and find out when the next. And he'll interrogate them by taking a knife and stabbing it into their hand, and then just pretty brutally interrogating them until they tell him what's going on. And then he shows up where the next terrorist attack is, and he stops it, But I think he does seem to be, the character is got it appears to be a sense of honor where he waits for somebody to pick up a gun to shoot at him, which isn't a realistic thing to do. Now, if you're going after these terrorists, you don't want to wait for them to pick something up to kind of shoot at you. But they have to do it in the movie and make him look like a good guy. But at the same time, if you think about it, maybe he's got this cat and mouse type of mentality, especially when he goes after the main bad guy at the end, and he traps him, and he has an opportunity to kill him, but he lets him go because he's unarmed. But at the same time, maybe he's trying to, in a way, mentally torture these guys, and he seems to kind of take some pride in it, because this the main bad guy, played by Richard Lynch, like I was saying before, he has these dreams, and then when he comes, he calls him and he threatens to kill him again, and then there's one part when he shows up on the news and he tells him that it's about time for him to die. So he's just trying to play these mental games with these bad guys. So this is the first time I saw this movie, Invasion USA. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole Chuck Norris was definitely in top Chuck Norris form here. And by the way, Chuck Norris was once charged with attempted murder. The judge dropped the case almost immediately because Chuck Norris doesn't attempt to do anything. I'm Dave Watkins. If you would like, take a like to this video and subscribe.